Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the seat hardware for the MGA Roadster and MGA Coupe models. So what I've got laid down here is some seat covers, then the seat frames, the seat hardware and some example of the actual seats, how they look when they're all fully trimmed. But the main focus of this video is to kind of detail the seat hardware in terms of what we supply and the very basic general concept of how it all goes together. This is by no means a trimming guide. It's basically what parts go where and a very basic overview of the process. At this point, it is definitely worth noting that I have done other videos showcasing these parts in more individual detail and depth. Things like the seat covers I've done separate videos for, trim seats, etc., and some of the seat hardware parts as well. So be sure to check those out, some of which will be referenced at the end of this video, so stay tuned for those and click through. Others can be found on our YouTube channel. And it's also worth noting that I will be recording other videos in the future showing a bit more depth of the actual trimming process, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified when they arrive. But anyway, let's dive on into this. And so what I'm talking about here is, like I said, the MGA Roadster and the MGA Coupe seats. Now, just to reference the book, if we get the zoom going back in there, the MGA Roadsters had one style of seats and the MGA Coupe had a different style of seats. So the Coupes, the majority of them left with this style of seat here, where it had the horizontal left to right pleats, which is an example here that we have here. And then the Roadsters had vertical pleats on the backrest and front to back on the cushion bases there. So they're the Roadster style seats there. Now, there was an optional extra for both of them, which was the deluxe style competition seats, which are these horseshoe based seats here. Here we go. So they have the horseshoe and the vertical / front to back pleats on them there. We are not talking about those seats there. Deluxe style competition seats are a completely different seat frame, completely different seat hardware and completely different seat covers. I have done numerous videos detailing those. So if you have those seats or you want those seats, please do check out those other videos. This is purely based on the Coupe style seats, standard seats, and the Roadster standard seats there. So, like I say, I have put out a couple of seat covers here, one of each effectively. So this is the, in blue here, this is the MGA Coupe version of the seats, and this is the MGA Roadster seats. I'm not going to spend too much time at all on the seat covers. I just wanted to lay them out so that you had a visual guide of the styling of them. But like I say, I have done other videos. So if you want a bit more information on the actual seat covers, be sure to check the other videos out. Hardware wise, the seat frames between the Roadster and the Coupes changed, but the actual seat hardware, things like the paddings, etc., were exactly the same. So just that's where this video is coming into its own, basically, is the fact that the hardware element, which is the main focus of the video, are pretty much identical between the Roadster and Coupe models. The seat frame does differ. Now, the seat frames I've got on show here, 1, 2, 3, they're all Roadster style ones. They're all aftermarket ones. And we've done different stages of the sort of preparation process, shall we say. At the back here, we have a Coupe seat. This is old. I don't think it's actually an original seat. Well, it's an original seat frame, but it's not original seat covers. I don't believe it's an aftermarket one that we found on eBay a few years ago. So, yeah, obviously it's not trimmed particularly well, etc. But just to give you a general concept of how it looks, etc. Whereas this one here is a MGA Roadster seat, fully trimmed. This is going to a customer over in Australia, and I will be doing follow-on videos showing these seat frames trimmed in biscuit and another colour that we've got going on at the same time. So again, be sure to tune in for that, but I thought I'd show that as a brief example there, and we will go over very basic elements of the sort of design process of those. But let's dive on into the actual seat hardware element of things. So let's start with the seat frames. The seat frames, they are available in the aftermarket. Like I say, these are the Roadster seat frames, and the Roadster seat frames are very unique in terms of you can see the angle that it's taking. This is the left-hand seat frame as you're sitting in the car. So if I stand this way round here, so facing forward in the car. Two things that give it away. You've got the cutaway there, obviously, for the gearbox. And then you have the angle that I just showed you before there, where it's really tipping down. A sharp angle towards the outside of the car, and the reason for that is it allowed the hood frame to pass by without hitting the seat. So it's quite a common design amongst this era of British made cars. Quite a few of the Triumph TRs did this as well, where you had a sharper angle on the outside of the car to allow the hood frame to go by. So obviously that's the left-hand seat there. The right-hand seat here is a mirror image, basically. So it has the cutaway going a different way and the angles that way there. And you can really see it here. This is obviously a right-hand seat we've trimmed up there. So you can see how sharply it comes down there. Now, it is worth noting, the seat covers are ever so slightly different in that regard. They are handed. This side here does taper in more, but it's very subtle on the seat cover. The majority of the work to get that look and finish happens in the actual trimming process. So effectively, if we had just those flat panels there and we put them face to face, they wouldn't match up because they are different curvatures. That is a sharper angle there. However, when everything's sewn and you kind of look at it, it doesn't look like there's much in it. It is all down to the trimming process. So just bear that in mind there. So that's effectively the seat frames. We can supply them aftermarket ones, or you can send us your original ones if you prefer, and we can do the trimming job for you. But ultimately, they are available there. Like I say, they are the Roadster ones. I believe Coupe frames are also available as well. And worth noting at this stage, the deluxe style competition seats are a completely different frame. So I believe MGA's had effectively 3 different frameworks. So that's the framework. Then let's start with the cushion base bits in terms of the actual hardware that goes on the frame. So it comprises of effectively 2 pieces. You have the base pan here, which is plywood. It is again handed. You can see this side here is fatter than that side there to allow for this element here. And it has this raised slope section there, and it has the blocks underneath which help connect it into the actual framework itself. And then you had this metal mesh on the bottom there, which allows for the extra bit of foam on the bottom here for the compression element of things. So these are, like I say, handed. We sell these individually, so you need 1 left and 1 right per car set. Same concept with the seat frames there. The seat foam, it's a latex molded seat foam, so it's got nice softness to it, but not too resistant as well. And it's molded latex. It's akin to the original ones. The original ones were Dunlop foam. They had holes in the bottom of them, but we've used these for years and they work to good effect there. They offer enough resistance to fill out the seat cover nicely, but not too much that you're sat perching in the car. There are subtle things that you can do during the trimming process. If you happen to be, should we say, above average in terms of size and whatnot, then there are some tricks of the trade, should we say, to try and lower yourself down in the car slightly more. However, it is pretty minimal gains, but you can do it on both the actual foam itself and the hardware ply elements of things, so bear that in mind. These are also handed. You can see here it's got an L there, but obviously it allows for the shape of the actual base there. And again, they are sold individually, so you need 1 left and 1 right per car set there. So that obviously sits in there, and then both of those items will sit in the seat frame roughly like that. When it comes to the actual trimming process, the seat cover is actually completely independently trimmed to the foam and the panel. There's nothing really to do with the framework on the base elements of things. The actual cover itself just literally gets trimmed. I can't do it one-handed, but yeah, there you are. It's completely loose and independent. I'll just leave that semi out like that so I can do it again. Then everything slots in. So that's the element of the bases there. Now, like I say, the covers themselves between the Roadster and the Coupe, they are different, but they both fit onto that element of foam and base frame there. Moving on to the backrest squab element of the seat frame, so anything related to that part of it there, you have a few elements, and these are actually all sold in car sets, so they're not sold individually. You get a pair of Millboard panels. Obviously, I've only got 1 here because the other one's on the back of that seat, but we sell them as a car set, so enough to do a pair of seats. And these are Millboard panels that literally get manipulated and effectively attached to the framework there. Sold in a pair. You might need to do some very basic minor adjustment during the actual fitment process. Effectively, what you do is you start matching up down the bottom here, and then we've just used tape to mask it round, because effectively when everything is said and done, it's going to get wrapped around with that and a seat cover, so tape should be absolutely fine. But I have seen people use cable ties and things like that, and go for it. You know, it's absolutely fine to do that. It's probably a bit over the top, but good job done. So it gets wrapped around there. You do start at the bottom, and then you kind of work it up here, and you might get a bit of an overhang at the top here, which you might, depending on the overhang amount, you might want to slice it off. But actually, bear in mind that all of that covers it over anyway, so as long as it's not too ridiculous, then no harm done, effectively. So you've got a pair of those backrest panels there. You also then have tacking strips which go all the way around the bottom here. They're little hardboard tacking strips. They're in 3 pieces. If I try and get this propped up, there we go. So you have a left, sorry, it's all a bit covered by tape at the moment, but you have a left that goes up to there, a centerpiece there, and a centerpiece there. They're all screwed in, so you literally just drill into the framework with the hardboard. What we do is we supply it in a set of hardboard pieces that you glue together and then drill through, basically. So it's like an Aerofix set, effectively. There, so you get, again, a car set's worth, enough for 2 seats there, and they get put onto the frame. That's actually the first thing you're going to be doing, is putting the tacking strips on, and then you're going to be putting the backrest element on there. Then the last part is actually the padding kit, which is sold as a car set, so enough for 2 seats. And we've semi put this one together, so effectively you get a bit of felt which goes around the back, effectively goes onto the back of here. Now that's sometimes actually supplied in 2 pieces. You can see we've actually glued this one together in preparation there, but that might be in 1 piece, might be in 2 pieces, but it doesn't matter, just glue it together. This one here, in fact all of the ones we've trimmed have all been in 2 pieces to start with. And then you get this sort of rubberized horsehair, fibre hair, or whatever you want to call it, which is akin to the original stuff. Again, that's normally supplied in a couple of pieces, so you actually get this big rectangle piece, and then this small rectangle is normally loose, but we've pre-glued it on this set just for the purposes of this video here, and that effectively sits in there. Now let's start with the felt on the back, because it's probably a bit more straightforward. Felt on the back, literally you're gluing it onto the back here, and then you're wrapping it around the edges here. So if I move this forward, you can see this is the line on the back. You obviously want to make sure that that's nice and smooth before you actually start trimming, otherwise you might see a bit of a sort of dent in the material, but as long as you're careful with it, you should be absolutely fine. There's no right or wrong way. You can either go vertically or horizontally, but as long as it looks like a neat join, you're absolutely fine. It goes pretty much flush to the bottom. Down here you can see the tacking strips along the bottom, so it's flush to the bottom there. And then what you do is you actually wrap it round onto the face there. Now obviously you're going to be doing the horsehair element of this first to allow that wrap round, but you can still do the majority and leave this bit loose and then do the horsehair. It doesn't really matter too much there, but you are eventually wrapping around. So the actual framework is along this edge here. All of this gap here is still the rubberized horsehair. Moving on to the rubberized horsehair, you obviously had these main section here, then this bit here. This is an extra bolster, so this is behind here. So effectively that is like that. So the bolster there is there. And that's the way that's set up there. And that's just lightly anchor glued into the framework. And then, like I say, the felt is wrapped around. You just do little cuts in it to get the shape going around the corners. And that's effectively the way that the backrests go on the horsehair element of things. And then effectively you're ready to go. 2 independent trimming processes. Obviously you've got the trimming of the cushion bases, and then you've got the trimming of the backrest. We actually always recommend starting with the backrest. It's harder, but it means that in terms of matching up pleats, etc., it's easier to adjust a cushion than it is a backrest. So we always say start with the backrest, because then that's defining what you're then doing with the cushion there. But actually it's worthwhile not going too gung-ho on things. So effectively you're getting the backrest to a certain point, and then after that get the cushion to a certain point, but easily enough that you can adjust either of them quite straightforwardly without having to undo too much work. And then it kind of gives you a bit of a bridge gap between the process of how it's going. So basically check back and forth. Don't go just gung-ho and literally trim the whole of the backrest until it's absolutely finished. Then go to the cushion and do that, because you might find that they don't fully match up. You do need to have a few tester points between the 2 of them there. But yeah, I'll be going into more detail on the trimming in some further videos here. And obviously concept exactly the same on the coupe frame. No different there. You had the panels on the back there, like on here. So nicely done. This is actually a full leather kit here, so a bit harder to trim in full leather. Normally they left the factory, the majority of them, in what we refer to as leather faced, which is basically the facings of the body, the bits that touch your body which actually sit in it. They're leather, but the backs and strands are vinyl. But we can offer the upgrade kit, which is full leather, which is what this one is here. As you can see, lovely job. The tacking strips are used on the bottom to, like I say, tack the actual cover in place there. Yeah, and actually you can see the cut down there on the sharper angle on the right hand side as well. Like I say, that a lot of that is in the trimming process. The covers are subtly handed. You can just about see it actually in that there. It's slightly narrower at the top, a slightly sharper angle, but it is very minimal in the seat cover and really comes into its own during the trimming process. Anyway, I think I've covered my bases there, but be sure to tune into the next video because I'm going to be doing some showing the trimmed up versions of the seats, where I'll go into a bit more detail on the trimming as well. And then of course in due course we are working on guides and fitment processes in a bit more depth, so watch this space for those ones. In the meantime, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, share and subscribe for other classic car enthusiasts. Of course, if you have an MGA Roadster or a Coupe that we can help you with your restoration, do not hesitate to get in contact with us via our website. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thank you.